What if I told you that behind the flashy cars, the chart battles, and the endless trolling, there's a secret plan worth billions, and 50 Cent just claimed he exposed it? This isn't just another rap feud. What's being hinted at could flip the script on French Montana's entire career, and maybe even reveal how some of hip-hop's biggest stars really move behind the scenes. It all kicked off with what looked like a simple flex. French Montana had just posted a video of himself showing off his new ride, a Bugatti. To most fans, it was just another rapper celebrating success. But in the world of hip-hop, where every detail is scrutinized, timing and context mean everything. That's when 50 Cent swooped in. Instead of congratulating French, he fired off one of his signature jabs, mocking the Bugatti as being outdated and clowning French for allegedly buying an old model just to show off. It wasn't the kind of playful banter you brush off. Coming from 50, it was more like a warning shot, because everyone knows when 50 starts aiming, there's usually a bigger game in play. French didn't stay quiet. He clapped back fast, flipping the script and claiming that 50 was the one faking it, alleging that his streams were bought, manipulated to make him look hotter than he really was. Suddenly, a post about a car spiraled into accusations of fraud, image control, and credibility. And in hip-hop, where authenticity is everything, those kinds of claims cut deep. From there, things only got nastier. French didn't just question 50's music. He started dropping personal insults, trying to paint him as irrelevant, bitter, and desperate for attention. For French, it wasn't just about defending his Bugatti. It was about tearing down a rival who'd built a reputation for humiliating opponents online. But the moment the insults left the realm of music and image, the feud was no longer just entertainment. It became personal. What made the whole exchange even more explosive was the history between these two. This wasn't the first time 50 had aimed at French. Over the years, their paths kept colliding, sometimes over music, sometimes over money, and sometimes just over pride. Fans were already used to seeing the vro shots, but this time felt different. This time, it had teeth. Why? Because underneath the flashy headlines about cars and clout, there was a sense that both artists were fighting for something bigger: relevance, legacy, and control over the narrative. For 50, calling out French was another opportunity to show he could still dominate the conversation. For French, firing back wasn't just self-defense, it was a chance to prove he could stand up to one of rap's most notorious trolls and come out on top. And the audience ate it up. Social media went wild with memes, reposts, and debates. Was 50 right about French flexing with outdated status symbols? Was French onto something when he claimed 50's numbers were smoke and mirrors? The feud wasn't just about two men arguing. It became a public trial of image versus reality. But here's the thing. While everyone was laughing at the Bugatti jokes, few realized it was just the opening act. Because what came next pushed the feud into darker, more dangerous territory. And that's when legal paperwork entered the picture. The Bugatti drama had the internet buzzing. But then things escalated into territory no one expected. Out of nowhere, French Montana dropped a bombshell: paperwork. Not just any paperwork, alleged legal documents that, according to him, suggested 50 Cent had worked with authorities in the past. In the world of hip-hop, where street credibility is a currency as powerful as money, nothing is more damaging than being labeled a snitch. French knew exactly what he was doing when he put those claims into the spotlight. It wasn't just an insult, it was an attempt to cut 50 down at the very root of his reputation. For decades, 50 had built his persona as someone untouchable, someone who survived real-life gunfire, battled enemies in the streets and the industry, and came out stronger. To paint him as an informant, that was like trying to flip his entire image upside down. Almost immediately, fans split into two camps. Some demanded proof, wanting to see if the documents French flaunted were legitimate. Others called it pure trolling, a desperate move to one-up a rival who'd mastered the art of public humiliation. Whether the paperwork was real or not almost didn't matter. What mattered was the seed of doubt. And once that seed is planted in the rap game, it's nearly impossible to fully erase. 50, of course, wasn't about to let it slide. He went on the offensive, ridiculing French and dismissing the so-called snitch papers as a clumsy, attention-grabbing stunt. He framed it as just another example of an opponent trying and failing to outmaneuver him. For 50, the move was proof that French didn't have the upper hand in wit or in strategy. But here's where it gets interesting. French's choice to attack credibility rather than music revealed something deeper about their beef. At this stage, it wasn't about album sales or who had the better car. It was about dismantling identities. If French could convince people that 50's legacy was built on lies, it would be the ultimate checkmate. And the timing wasn't random either. Both artists were navigating critical points in their careers. French had been working to stay relevant in a shifting industry, often accused of leaning on features from bigger names to keep his name alive. Meanwhile, 50 had been pivoting away from music into TV and business ventures. For French, forcing 50 back into a messy public feud was a way to pull him into the arena again, on terms that might finally give French the upper hand. The move also tapped into a darker truth about hip-hop culture. Fans love drama, rumors, scandals, exposed documents. They spread faster than any single or music video. French wasn't just battling 50 Cent, he was playing to the crowd, giving the internet the kind of spectacle that guaranteed clicks and conversations. But as wild as the snitch papers were, this chapter wasn't the end, because soon the narrative shifted again. Instead of just talking about betrayals and accusations, the feud began to morph into a debate over marketing genius. Was 50 a fraud, or was he simply outsmarting everyone with a playbook French himself had just admitted to? And that revelation set the stage for the next twist in the story. After the paperwork stunt, the feud could have spiraled into silence or turned stale. Angle, he pivoted, and in the process, he may have revealed more than he intended. In a rare moment of honesty, French admitted something shocking. He actually considered 50 Cent a genius, not for his music, not for his business deals, but for his ability to turn beef into branding. According to French, 50 had a formula: pick a fight, stir up chaos, and then cash in with a new release, a project, or some kind of media splash. In other words, 50 wasn't just trolling, he was orchestrating. And the receipts were there. Think about it. Almost every time 50 made headlines for insulting someone, a project soon followed. Diss Ja Rule, then drop Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Take aim at Rick Ross, then use the headlines to push G-Unit projects. Even his clashes with Diddy and Floyd Mayweather seemed to line up with calculated timing, always keeping 50's name in circulation when it mattered most. French's revelation wasn't so much an insult as it was a backhanded compliment. On one hand, he was accusing 50 of being manipulative, of treating beef like a PR stunt. On the other, he was admitting that the strategy worked, that maybe all the insults and trolling weren't random, but part of a billion-dollar blueprint. That's when the whispers about a so-called $7 billion escape plan started to make sense.